It is time, my friends. It is absolutely time. My boy, Philly Godfather, and I are going to go over week 3 of the National Football League. And we're going to get his takes. Also, some college games. You can catch his show, by the way, right here on JAKIB Sports and also on Sirius XM. Here's our friend, Philly Godfather. How are you, my friend?
What's going on, big guy? Had to do a wedding. So I said, let me jump on the Dan Sileo show real quick and give out some winners.
How about this, man? Give me your synopsis so far of the first 2 weeks of the Eagles.
I mean, they've been underperforming. They're 2-0, which is a blessing. 2 gifts. But the sports betting market, they don't like what they see. And this line on Tampa Bay, it opened up with the Eagles being 7-point favorites. It's down to 4.5. So think about that. While other teams like the Cowboys, the look-ahead line on the Cowboys-Cardinals game was only -7. That's up to 13. So the sports betting market's bullish on the Cowboys, and they're not bullish on the Eagles as of right now.
So when you see the Eagles if I'm not mistaken, that's like from a Monday 7 to where they are now at 4.5. I mean, when you see a dramatic drop and you see the money going towards the Bucs, home field, they're 2-0, they're playing surprisingly well. You look at, you think people that have the bags of money are going like this. You have to be determined how good this team is.
Yeah, no one's looking to invest in this Eagles team as of right now. Now, things might change moving forward, but from what we've seen on the defensive side of the ball, and there's a couple guys that are banged up, but nothing impresses us on the defensive side of the ball. And Jalen Hurts has been rusty. His numbers haven't looked great either, so they're having some issues on the offensive side of the ball. Like I said, 2 gifts against the Patriots and against the Vikings. I mean, 4 turnovers and that gift before halftime. I mean, you can consider that a turnover too by Jefferson. So if you're barely winning games and not covering the spread, and the opposing teams turn the ball over 5 times, well, you got some issues moving forward.
Well, since I'm not having you on Monday, who are you going to take in that game?
Well, last week I told you guys that while we were on the show, I bet the Buccaneers +7. I also like the over here. I think Jalen Hurts has a pretty good game. This Bucs pass defense, not one of the best in the league. 24th in opposing yards per pass attempt, 23rd in opposing yards per game. Their run defense is really good, but their big guy, their run stopper's out. Vitae, I think he's banged up. Some guys banged up on both these defensive lines headed into this game, and both corners on both teams are a little banged up as well. So I'm expecting some points. I went over 44, 45. You can go over 46. I think they're going to score some points here. Now, this Tampa Bay pass rush, so far, I mean, they're the 6th best in the NFL after 2 weeks. So this Eagles offensive line has to really contain them, and they haven't done it in the first 2 games of the season. They've given up 7 sacks already. So there was all this talk about how great this Eagles offensive line is, and Hurts has gotten sacked 7 times already in 2 games. And this is one of the better sack defenses in the NFL. So they got to do their jobs this week.
Absolutely. The line opened at 7. It's now 4.5. And the Godfather's going with the Buccaneers, and he took the 7 when it was first posted. Last night, 49ers dominant game, 30-12 over the Giants. Are they the best team in the NFC, in your opinion?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the Dallas Cowboys. The speed on that Cowboys defense, to me, is the difference maker. I think Dak is better than Purdy. The coaching advantage, if you want to give it to Shanahan, that's fine. But I don't think Purdy's arm can beat you in the playoffs against the better teams, against the better quarterbacks. They're going to really have to scheme to go deep in the playoffs this year. But they're stacked. I mean, they beat a Giants team that the Cowboys blew out 40-0. And they looked like they had some issues in that first quarter, in the first half. A couple things bounced their way. They had a deflected pass that they scored a touchdown on. So, you know, the score wasn't a clear indicator of how closer the game was, but the Giants just stink. Dan, let's be honest. That's a bad team.
That's a bad team. So with that Arizona game, I got 12.5. So you're saying it's 13 right now?
It's up to 13. I bet it like 5 weeks ago, I'm sorry, Dallas -6. And now it's up to 13. So there's been a 7-point adjustment in the favor of the Cowboys. So
wow.
That's how bullish the market is on Dallas, while the Eagles lines are going the other way. So that's a cause for concern if anyone's looking to bet the Eagles moving forward.
Holy cow, man. Even with the Diggs injury, the number still continues to go up for the Cowboys. That's crazy, man. All right. Cleveland 3.5, Tennessee. You think they go to 2-1 on the season? Or do you like the Browns, or do you still want to see more from Watson?
No, I like the Browns here. Their defense is one of the best in the NFL. I mean, the Steelers didn't get in the red zone all game. Their defense. I mean, when does the defense score 14 points? That was an anomaly there. It was a great game to watch. Chubb's got hurt. I think this Browns team moving forward, they're going to be a dangerous team. You saw a little bit of a momentum shift when Chubbs went down in the game, but these guys are professionals, and that defense is so strong. I like the Browns here. I laid them on the money line. I think they win the game.
Detroit's giving Atlanta 3.5. How about the way that Jesse Bates has played for Atlanta? I'll tell you what, he's the second best defensive player right now to Micah Parsons, and Atlanta's kind of looking like they're starting to straighten that thing out a little bit. But Detroit, again, that big win against Kansas City, they're giving Atlanta 3. It is at home at Ford Field. Who do you like here?
Yeah, Atlanta doesn't turn the ball over. I mean, they run the ball, they chew up clock, they limit the possessions. At 3, I think the number's right on. It's on that key number 3. If I could have got a +4 in Atlanta, I probably would have taken them. Before the season started, I was really bullish on this team. I went over 8.5 wins, and they haven't disappointed so far. But at 3, I mean, there's no value either way for me.
How about Green Bay's favored at home? And they're giving New Orleans. Boy, I thought New Orleans would be a team that people would kind of, because of the division, but Green Bay at home, 1.5, they're giving New Orleans. I mean, are you shocked by that?
A little bit. It shows some respect for this Packers team that no one was bullish on. I mean, we actually, one of my guys took them to win the division, which I wasn't sure about at 41, but as of right now, it's looking like a great bet. I mean, the Lions and the Packers and the Bears are bad. The Vikings are, they're dysfunctional. They keep turning the ball over every week. But I like the Saints here. I just think they're the better team, top to bottom roster. If Derek Carr can play like Derek Carr, can, I mean, this team should win the game. I like the dog here, the road dog here on the Saints.
How about this? Denver at Miami. I tell you what, there's a lot of heat in Denver right now on Peyton and also on Russell Wilson. And I'll tell you, Miami has looked spectacular, and Miami is giving Denver and Russell Wilson 6.5. I mean, wow. It is at home in South Florida. Do you like the Dolphins here, even with the points?
Nah, I kind of like the Broncos. It's still or die here. You start 0-3 in the NFL. You'll miss the playoffs 80% of the time, or whatever the number is, 78% of the time. I mean, this is the week for the Broncos. They're going to give it their all. I don't know if they can win the game, but I think they stay within that touchdown. It's a lot of points in the NFL for a very wounded, hungry team like the Broncos.
So Minnesota is favored by 1 over the Chargers, who are 0-2, and they've got to go to Minnesota. Minnesota has no defense. It's got to be do or die here for the Chargers now because, I mean, there's just too much talent on that offense. I think that coach gets blown out if they go 0-3.
Oh, yeah, I think he gets fired, right? I mean, how do you not fire Staley? You got so much talent, top to bottom, on this roster, on the offensive side, defensive side, and you start off 0-3. The season's over. I mean, let's be honest. Who bounces back from an 0-3 start? I like the Chargers here. You're getting a point. I think they win the game outright. I don't even think you're going to need the point, but I think the Chargers are the better team here. And Minnesota can't stop turning the ball over. If they do it again this week, they're going to get blown out.
How about New England? They got like an 11-game win streak against his Jets team or something like that. They're giving the Jets 2.5. This is like Zach Wilson's D-Day. Whether he gets it done or not, they could be calling Carson Wentz on Monday, according to Boomer Esiason, was on a couple days ago. Does New England get it done on the road in the Meadowlands?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're a more complete team. Obviously, if the Jets had Rodgers, it'd be a different story here. I laid 1, and I took the money line. Line's up to 2.5 on the Patriots. This is another must-win game for them. On the offensive side, I think they're more complete. Defense is pretty close. Jets are a little bit better, but that Patriots defense is one of the better ones in the NFL. They played the Eagles tough, should have won that game. They played the Dolphins tough. Came down to the wire really in both games if guy stays in bounds. So I like the Patriots here. I think it's up to 2.5. If you lay anything under 3, I think the Patriots are the right side.
I love doing this with you, man. This is a lot of fun here. How about this one here, Godfather? Buffalo, Washington, intriguing ball game. It looks like they righted the ship against the Raiders, but then again, what kind of defense does the Raiders have? Washington is undefeated. Buffalo is giving Washington 6. They have to go on the road. Does Buffalo get it done with the number?
I thought that number was a little short, especially with all the points Washington gave up last week to a really putrid Broncos offense. It's a tough game to call. If anything, I would tease Buffalo down to basically a pick 'em if I'm looking to bet the Buffalo side, because this Washington team has started off 2-0. They have some momentum, and they did beat Denver on the road, which is never easy going up this early in the season in that altitude. The Broncos usually have such a great home field advantage, and they went in there as dogs and won the game outright. So I don't know if I'm looking to take the points or lay the points, but I would definitely tie the Buffalo Bills into a teaser.
I'll tell you what, I see a ton of points in this week. I see 13, 12, and here's another one. Jacksonville, 8. I don't think people understand when you see 8.5 points in an NFL ball game, when the majority of point differential is 3 points, and you see a number like that, Houston at Jacksonville, I mean, boy, that's a lot of points. You think they cover that still? Because really, Houston doesn't have a lot, but still, that's a ton of points.
Yeah, usually I'm looking to take the divisional, it's divisional matchup here. I'm usually looking to take the dog. Line's down to 7.5 in some spots, some of the sharper spots offshore. The only problem is their offensive line is so banged up, and I think they're missing their starting corner as well. So I think Trevor Lawrence has a big day here. I would bet over his passing yards. If I can get this line down to 7, I'd probably lay the 7 with the Jags. I think they bounce back. They win the game. There's just too many missing components on this Houston Texans side.
I think Gardner Minshew starting in this game versus Baltimore. Baltimore's given the Colts 8. I know you like the Ravens. You think that this is, you know what, too? If you look at really the numbers and you watch Lamar, I think Lamar's really – that Zay Flowers can play, man. They got a great tight end. That's a good-looking football team. Do you like the Ravens in the number 8?
Not really here. I mean, Minshew, he's a solid backup. I mean, he can come in and throw the ball around, and the Colts have hung around with the Jags, and the Ravens have.
Minshew's been around Steichen too a little bit here now the last 2 years here, so they kind of got a little bit of a history here going.
Yeah, and the Ravens have outperformed the market, I think, 2 weeks in a row. So you're buying at a high point with the Ravens here. I think the betting public's going to be all over Baltimore here. And I think you got an opportunity. If the line gets a little higher, I would love to take 10 on the dog here. But even at +8, I like the dog here, +8.
How about Carolina at Seattle, 5.5 points? Seahawks bounced back last week. Geno looked decent last week. Do you like the Seahawks here? Do you think that's too many points, 5.5 at home?
Carolina's been playing. They're real gritty, right? Yeah. But I know they lost their quarterback, right? He's not playing. So I don't know. I'm not looking to – it's a dead – I hate laying 5 or taking 5 on any game. It's such a dead number in the sports betting market. So I'm really staying off, either side here.
How about this one here, man? I don't know any more of a safer pick. Kansas City at home, 12.5, and the shit-stained Bears. I mean, dude, you got a guy being investigated by Merrick Garland. You got another guy that is screaming at his coaches. The entire city hates that team right now. It's the Bears. And there's Kansas City at Arrowhead, and it's 12.5. I think you could have 15.5 and be okay in this thing.
Yeah, I would have to take 20 on this Bears. I had him last week. I had a Bears ticket +3. I had him on a teaser +9.5. And I had the under in that game. And I'm thinking, okay, there's like a minute left. As long as he don't throw a pick 6, I'm going. I went 2 and I pushed the other one, and he throws a pick 6, and I lose all 3 wagers. This Bears team is bad. They've got some major issues. My man David Kaplan out there in Chicago, he's Mr. Chicago, and he tells me, whatever you do, don't ever invest in this team again. If you're going to bet it, you got to bet the Chiefs here. There's no other way to bet it.
2 more games left here. Pittsburgh at the Raiders, 2.5. It's in Vegas. I don't know, man. Kenny Pickett, I mean, this guy was like fool's gold in the exhibition season. You know what? They're good defensively, Pittsburgh. They're pretty good. I think they got to get back to their running game. And the Raiders are giving the Steelers – this thing when you and I were kids, Godfather, this was like one of the holy terrors of rivalries, Raiders and Steelers. And it used to be one of those back in the day, those things you had to watch, Kurt Gowdy calling the game and all that. Who do you like in this ball game?
Yeah, back then we had Tom Flores, John Madden. Yeah. I mean, there were the days Kenny the Snake. I mean, that was better than that, Dan. That was the best.
John Madden and Chuck Noll going back and forth. The Noll calling George Atkinson and Jack Tatum like the criminal element of the NFL. I mean, shit, it was the best football ever.
Look at Lester Hayes and all the stickum and all took that Super Bowl away from the Eagles. Oh man, I hated that as a kid. But in this matchup, I think there's going to be some points. I went over 42, lines up to 43. I think the Raiders' defense ain't that good, and as long as the Steelers can score with them, I mean, their offenses look horrible. They didn't even get in the red zone last week, but that was against the Browns' defense that's a lot better than the Raiders here. I don't know if they can win this game or cover. I kind of like the Raiders here at home. At anything under a field goal, if you can lay 2.5, I think the Raiders actually beat the Steelers.
Last pro game here. Rams at Cincinnati. Burrow says he believes he's playing.
I mean, do the Bengals start out 0-3? I mean, do they they need a win here? And the Rams have looked pretty efficient against, some good teams. Let's be honest. McVay's done a good job for a team that no one expected to win 5 or 6 games this season. I actually went under 7.5 wins on the Rams regular season win total before the season started, and now I'm getting a little nervous because they've looked better than I thought they'd be. I mean, you got to take the Bengals here. Gun to my head, I didn't bet this game, but gun to my head, I'd probably take the Bengals here.
Before you slice into some wedding cake here, I want 2 college games. I'm going to do Oregon and Colorado. Look, I think Colorado gets boat raced by Oregon, and I think they beat them by 23. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I laid 20.5. I laid 21 on Oregon. This is the best defense Colorado's going to play all season. You got Bo Nix back there. Maybe he could end up winning the Heisman, which he probably won't, but he's right there. He's in the discussion. Colorado, like I said, hasn't faced a defense like this, and they won't all season. This Oregon team's really good. I think they're like plus 300 to win the Pac West out there. So this is a real solid team. Like you said, I think they get both. I think this is the week that Colorado comes back to earth. The betting public, though, regardless, is going to be betting Colorado each and every week blindly. They love prime time. And I talked to some offshore books, and they said like 90% of tickets are already on Colorado. It's not even game day, and about 80% of the action comes in on game day. So they're hoping Colorado doesn't cover the spread or wins this game outright, or else they're going to get killed. The books are going
to Colorado they've got a lot going for them here, but this ain't TCU. Okay. I mean, that's a good football team. Finally, the holier than thou's versus Ohio State. Who do you got in this one here? Notre Dame versus Ohio. Dude, if you want to know the most overrated program in the United States of America, it's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. When they play games like this, please tell me you're not a believer in Notre Dame.
I'm not. I just think, Ohio State has the athletes, man. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. Notre Dame looks good. The line's kind of short, though. I thought it'd be a little higher. I like Ohio State here. I don't think Notre Dame get the job.
No, wait. Touchdown Jesus will take a knee in this one, too. I can promise you that. Hey, enjoy yourself, and I appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much, man. Hey, when I know people get mad at you, I know you're doing it right, just to make sure. So this weekend, how can people get a hold of you, man?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Philly Godfather. Stop by the website, thephillygodfather.com. And just keep firing, Dan. Just keep making some money, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Have a great weekend.
You got it. Okay.
That is our friend, Philly Godfather. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Football and Hooters, the